Hey, Big Brother fans. Well, yeah, we're going to do Big Brother this time. Big Brother fans is me, Mike, aka BB Gossip. Today, we're going to do a very brief recap of last week's Traitors episode. I'm doing it because I just started doing my long form version, and I'm reading my 4 pages and I'm making mistakes. And I have to be honest, I don't want to listen to somebody read their notes. And that's kind of what I was doing, to where it sounded very stilted and fake, and that's not what I want to do. I want to be able to glance at my notes, riff on them, and go off. So we're going to blast through this pretty darn quick because tomorrow is the actual finale. So, and now that I think about it, St. Clinton, one of my patrons, suggested that I talk about the show a little bit. Well, it's the day before the finale. I should have done this, when I first started doing this weeks ago, but I didn't. So let me give you the brief explainer for those of you that are just listening to me talk and don't even know the show. Traitors is a version of, people call it Mafia. It's a murder game where it's a mystery where people are assigned their roles. In Mafia, or in other ones, there's bunches of different roles. There's only 2 roles in this thing called Traitors. You have what they call the Traitors and what they call the Faithful, which I'm going to tell you, when I first watched this show in Australia, I thought the word faithful was so goofy sounding, but now it has worked its way into vocabulary, so I'm used to saying it. So you have normally anywhere, so this season I think they had 19, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 faithful, which is kind of funny. That number seems to be good. When I played Sequester, the online game that I played back in the day during the pandemic, we started at 20. Sometimes you have a little bit less, but the number ended up often being about 22. So 22 people you start out with. And the person, in this case Alan Cummings, the host, goes and picks at least 2, more likely 3, and sometimes 4 people to be traitors. It is their task to escape being detected and to, once a day for the most part on this show, murder, air quotes, one of the other people, one of the safe people. And then once a day, roughly, the safe people, the entire group gets together and they vote someone out. They banish someone. Their intent is to banish one of the people that are traitors. But they don't, the traitors get to vote too, and they don't want to be banished. So that's the major, that is what I called, when I was talking about it at some point, I said it's kind of like they've taken the part of Survivor that's the most interesting, which is often the immunity, or not the immunity, the campfire, the tribal council, where they do the tribal and they talk. This is kind of tribal on steroids, and they sit in a big round table and they talk and they vote. They all get together and they decide who they're going to vote out. They vote by secret vote, but then they show who they vote, right? So this is how it all works out. Then the person who's been voted out stands at the end of the table, which isn't an end of a table since it's a round table, but they stand at the exit to the room and they announce whether they were a traitor or a faithful. They leave, they react, being the others. And that's how the game progresses. Meanwhile, they're earning money, which we don't ever hardly talk about on this game. I did take notes here, and I will have to glance at my notes occasionally, and I may get a bit lost, and I apologize. But they earn money the rest of the episode. And it's just, the missions, I said it very, very, very long ago. When I first started watching Australia, UK, it's like, I don't care about the missions. I fast forward to the missions. I really don't. They've made the missions a little bit more risky for the traitors, or given them perks. They added this shield concept where you're safe from being murdered if you get a shield. It's kind of an immunity necklace, but only from being murdered, not from getting banished. So they've added a few mechanics to kind of make it a little bit more interesting. But to be honest, the missions for earning money, that's all just whatever it is. I said it a long time ago. You can tweak the they can tweak the pot at any time they want. If the people aren't earning enough money, then just make the next mission worth more money, right? So it is what it is. It's interesting. The fun part is watching them vote people out. And that's why when you're playing the game, playing Mafia or playing one of those other games, there's no cash reward here. You're just playing the game for fun. That's what it is, except for they throw the cash in there because it makes it more interesting and it makes people want to play it too, right? That's why people are trying to get on the show. All right, so episode 10. Again, this is Wednesday. Tomorrow's the finale. Let's go over this fairly quickly. We're down to 8. We're down to 8 contestants. I don't remember what we call them. We're down to 8. They're not all faithfuls, right? So we can't say that. We're down to 6 faithful and 2 traitors, as it were. The only traitor that has been recruited is Eric. He was just recruited last episode. Up until then, it's been the original 4 traitors, one of which was a secret traitor at the start, and then Rob is the remaining sole traitor from the beginning. Rob R. from Love Island, not Rob Sestranos from Survivor. He was gone fairly early on. Spoiler for those of you that are listening to episode 10 recap without having watched the beginning. All right, so let me try this again. We're going to go through this quick recap as quick as I can. And of course, sidetracked. This is what happens. All right, here we go, folks. Recap of episode 10 as quick as I can do it while keeping the main parts in. So we saw that the recap from the previous night, or we don't care. We get to the fact that the Jack in the Box thing, they left us on a cliffhanger with the Jack in the Box, not knowing who might be murdered between the 4 people that Eric and Rob had tagged as being at risk. And those 4 people were Tara, Johnny, Kristen, or Natalie. I personally predicted that Natalie would be the one that would get murdered. My thought being, because Rob had talked in the turn about how he thought he had control over Kristen and Kristen trusted him. So I thought, he always says that and then he murders the person he says trusting him. I was wrong as it turned out. We'll get to that. We have the breakfast. We see that Maura is extremely loyal to Rob. I mean, just like so loyal to Rob. It's not even funny. There's no way she's getting voted out unless it's out of desperation at the end, in my opinion. Rob has Maura in his pocket. He tells us that he has the weight. It was so difficult. Rob is playing us as much as he's playing the faithful, in my opinion. He knows how to manipulate the audience too. Don't ever believe a thing Rob tells you, right? That's all I can say. And we get all the people safe for the breakfast, and then the potential murderees start showing up. Tara's the first. She tells us that she was, she tells us directly that she was embarrassed. She's embarrassed how she's voted. Her guess is how she's been wrong. Like, maybe I need to start thinking of it a different way. Johnny shows up. Johnny explains the process, but we don't see them cranking the box. We don't see the result of them not being murdered. We just see them cranking the box. And then there's the last knock, and it's Natalie. So I was wrong, but I'm dependent upon the editors to make me think who's going to go. Kristen was the one that ended up being murdered. We see a flashback to Rob and Eric talking, and Rob saying, if we take out Kristen, we're going to have to cover for you, and we have to talk Mark off the Eric train, because Kristen was saying to Mark, you should consider Eric if I go. And Rob was in the room at the same time. So it seems like Rob is being fairly loyal to Eric. I don't think Rob at this point wants to get rid of Eric. He's happy to get to the end with another traitor. And we'll see why that is, because Alan shows up and announces that this is it. One more murder, one more banishment, that the person will reveal their identity. So after tonight's banishment, nobody reveals what they were, right? So if you can get by with this, you don't have to get rid of Eric. There won't be any relief to them at getting rid of them. So we see so that's the finish of breakfast, right? So now we have the little social time before they head to the mission, where things tend to happen every once in a while. And the thing that happens here is we see Tara and Natalie talking, and Tara says to Natalie, what about Rob? And throws out some pieces, and Natalie just grabs a hold of that, like, yeah, I think it's Rob. We should go after Rob. And so Rob, and then we see Mark talking to Rob, and Rob is trying to turn Mark to go after Natalie, and that's his effort. Is that his lift? His lift for this episode is to get Mark to go after Natalie. We then see Tara and Natalie talking to Mara. Remember who I said who's extremely loyal to Rob? They're throwing their suspicions on Rob. Mara says it can't be Rob, and you can tell Nora isn't on board. Mara ends up going back and warning Rob, oh, they're coming for you. And, it's like, okay, so Rob knows. Rob now knows that Tara is coming for him and Natalie. And so, that sets we got to start doing it. They're in the cars. So then they get heading to the mission. In the cars, the way the mission, we have Tara, Natalie, and Johnny in the car. So the three of them are the three in one car because we're down to 7 now. And so they're talking, and they're all talking Rob. Tara and Natalie are talking to Johnny. In the other car, you got Mara, Maura, Eric, Mark, and Rob. And this is where Maura talks about Tara and Natalie talking about Rob. So there you go. Rob now knows that they got split up, however random way they got split up. They got split up in such a way that Natalie, Tara, and Johnny are together. And the others 4 in the other car. This all plays out to the end of this episode. So the mission is the spinning carnival ride that we saw on UK. Those of you that haven't seen it, they just get on a spinny ride. They have to sit in this ride that spins in a circle and then jump off and go pull out money out of stuffed animals. One will have a shield if they get it. One thing that came up is that only Eric and Tara did not only, but Eric and Tara did not have to sit on the spinning thing because of medical issues. I don't know what Eric's medical issue is. There was an article posted online somewhere that I read a couple of days ago about why Tara might have medical issues, and it really didn't explain it. Maybe she's had some surgery recently or something, but whatever it was, it doesn't matter. I felt like that gave them a little bit of an advantage because they put stuffed dummies in their seats on the spinning thing. They had to sit in a thing that didn't spin, and then when the timer stopped, they had to unbuckle themselves. They had to unbuckle their stuffed counterparts, and then they could go off to get the stuffed things. But they were not dizzy, right? And in my opinion, that came into play. So Rob had said, I have to win this shield. I want to win the shield so I get my pick on who to murder. Rob was the first one out. Natalie helps Maura, hoping that will get her some goodwill. But Johnny gets eliminated. Mark gets eliminated. Then Natalie and Tara are eliminated in one round because they took out 2 chairs. So it comes down to Eric and Maura. Maura, who's in the spinning thing, and Eric, who isn't. Eric gets the final bag of cash, and because there wasn't a shield in the thing. That was the UK version. The last person to be seated wins. So Eric wins. Eric wins, and he never had to get spun. I'm not saying I care that much, but it was an advantage not to have to spin, in my opinion. That's just my feelings, whatever. Back in the car now, Mark is wondering if it's Natalie and Tara. Like, oh, maybe they're both a thing. So Rob says, Natalie used to confide in me, but she stopped now, right? There's a whole nother, it's Rob just laying the seeds. And then you have Natalie counting the votes, trying to figure out what the votes work. And it's like, we've got to get Mark and Eric on board. I don't think Eric's going to be on board, right? Even if you get Mark, I don't think Eric's going to be on board, unless Eric decides to flip on Rob. Tara talks to us and seems worried that she brought up Rob's name to Natalie because Natalie is so gung-ho. Well, yes, Tara. I'm looking at my notes and I'm just skipping a bunch of stuff. It gets to, we're going to skip right to the table because that's, in my opinion, there's a lot of spinning that goes on here as far as connections and stuff, but it leads to the table, and the table is where everything happens. So going into the round table, we did see Tara and Johnny talking, and Johnny seems a bit on the fence about whether to go after Rob or not. Like, he's like, I'm just not sure. I'm not 100% sure. And it's like, dude, you got to do it. But Tara says she can't vote for Natalie. So Johnny brings up that she's a professional game player. Remember, she's the last game player left, and we know they all think these. Anybody who's been in a reality game show or elimination show before is suddenly a pro. Versus, you can't be a pro if you're on one of the other things. Oh yeah, you can. You don't think you're a master manipulator if you're on one of those other shows? You sure are, right, Rob? Right. So. It's the round table. By the way, speaking of money, I did make a point to write this down. Right now, they are at $180,800. That's how much money that will be split either between all the faithfuls, if there's only faithfuls at the end. It'll be split between everybody at the end if it's all faithfuls. But if even one traitor is left, then the traitor gets it, or it's split between the two traitors. That's how the payout works at the end. So let's pretend that it gets down to Eric and Rob, and they get the money and get to split it. They each get, at this point, $90,000. That'll be a nice little check. I'm guessing they're getting paid a fairly substantial amount of money just for being on the show. So that's one of the reasons I'm not crazy about the celebrity version, because I don't think the money is nearly as important to them. And so I think they're willing to take risks and do things because it makes a better show, right? So then it makes a better show. So what do you want? Do you want a show with lots of drama, or do you want a show where people are actually trying to win the money? I don't know. I guess I should say with a show with lots of drama, even if it's fake drama, right? That's part of the problem. So the round table starts. Tara starts talking, saying she's been following her heart. Hopes someone's going to lead it off because she doesn't want to be wrong again. Can lead it because, so that's kind of like, Natalie's kind of like, oh, you're really not going to go for anything, are you? Mark then jumps in, says, does anyone want to bring anything up? Anyone who hasn't had the balls to before. Rob speaks up and goes for Natalie. Says he hadn't been suspicious of her, but now she's been distant. Natalie says she feels the same way about him. But we also know that Rob has just brought this up with Mark earlier. So, gamers are brought up again. Mark and Morris both seem to chime in. Why would she target fellow gamer? Why she would target a fellow gamer as a gamer, the gamers that got murdered. Natalie says she thinks she wasn't murdered because a traitor is watching out for her. I mean, it's Rob. But she says she's considered Rob, but she said she has considered Rob, and he's acting differently today. And this was pointed out during the episode. Rob's acting really different. He got mad during the contest. He got just ways he's been acting different. Then he points out how Candace had kind of come after Rob towards the end there, and it seemed out of the blue. Mark backs up Natalie like, yeah, maybe that is a thing. But, that gives us hope, right? That maybe Rob is going to get gone after. I said gives us hope. I want a traitor to go first, personally. That's me. I'm rooting for the faithful at this point because the traitors seem to always win anymore. But Rob is trying to defend himself. He thinks her vote was weird. And then Natalie said it could have been a breadcrumb for us. I'm starting to read this. I need to stop reading this. And Tara, and then at one point Natalie kind of she throws Tara's down. Well, Tara brought this up, and Tara's like, "What are you doing bringing me up?" That's her reaction, her facial reaction, like, "Oh crap!" So you can tell right then Tara is retreating, like, "Uh oh." Then Natalie kind of can tell, like, "Uh oh." I can tell I'm doomed. The music is employing. I made a note that the music even started to sound like uh-oh. Natalie's, starting to feel beaten down. Rob's starting to gain steam. And it was like, oh my gosh. But then suddenly, Natalie tried to turn it back onto Tara. And I thought, ooh, maybe they're going to go against Tara. And so you see Tara start to get a little bit like, uh-oh, maybe they're coming for me. And then I have, wow, just like that, it seems Natalie's doubting Tara and feels like she's been misled. Natalie apologizes and says that maybe she spent too much time with Johnny and Tara for the day. Okay, so there's that. It's like, Alan says it's time to vote. They go to vote, and of course Rob does choose to use the dagger, so he's got 2 votes. Rob throws his 2 votes on Natalie. Natalie voted for Tara. Mark voted for Natalie. Tara votes for Natalie. Maura votes for Natalie. Eric votes for Natalie. Johnny votes for Natalie. So everybody voted for Natalie except, what was it? Who didn't vote for Natalie? Oh, Natalie voted for Tara. So yeah, Natalie went. Natalie got up there and said she's always trying to be strong, but she said, good job, guys. She said, today a gamer got played. and reveals that she's a faithful. Mark says, "I'm sorry." You hear Mark slaps his slate down kind of out of frustration, and you hear Rob's voice say, "I'm sorry, Nat." "No, you're not sorry, Rob." Alan said that the last murder is this evening, so they got one more murder, and then they just keep banishing until they decide they're done, right? So that's where we're at. That will be tomorrow's finale. They'll do a mission to earn some money to get it to 200,000. I don't know, and then. That may be the max they can earn anyways. I don't even remember what it is. The money just doesn't mean anything in this show. It just doesn't matter. Tara is like, she says to the guy, I didn't want to play anymore. I'm okay with being murdered. No one's going to murder her. She's a suspicion. We'll banish you, Tara, and claim that you were we're going to get rid of you and get rid of Johnny. And there we got rid of the two traitors. Good. Now we're good, right? I mean, I'm predicting. I have no idea. Rob said it was his toughest round table to date, but that Natalie had messed up, and that made her look guilty. Rob and Mark talk, and Mark says that he believes Natalie. He believes Tara doesn't think she was faking her emotions. Then we see Eric and Rob going to the turret for the last murder. Eric got the shield, right? So they can murder whoever they want. But he did point out to Eric that him not talking, and he didn't. There was no Eric conversation at the entire round table. Eric didn't say anything that we saw. Round tables go on for longer than we see, but Eric didn't say anything. And Eric and Rob said, that's not good. Alan shows up, and he announces that the players will be summoned to meet Alan outside tonight, and then Alan will reveal who was murdered in front of everyone. So they're going to have and we don't see that. They discuss the everyone. We don't know who's going to get murdered. Let me mark off Kristen on I've got my little list here. So let me give you my thoughts now. Before the finale, right? So we're down to 6. We're down to Maura, Tara, Rob, Eric, Johnny, and Mark. I personally think I think that both, if anyone goes, I think it'll be Eric of the two traitors. But I could see Eric, Tara, and Johnny all going, Maura, Mark, and Rob being left, and Rob winning the money. I think Rob's definitely staying around. Unless they've been hiding something from us where some of these people have known all along that Rob's a traitor, and they felt safe with him, so they haven't voted him out, which is what happens sometimes. But either way, I think a traitor is winning, or both traitors. Rob has said he wants to keep Eric in, so yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's where we're at. So tomorrow night will be the finale, and they are still casting for the next season. The next season is a all newbie season, no celebrities. So keep that in mind. If you want to see that version, which is what I want to see, because I don't want to see celebrities. I want to see people that are hopefully haven't played on another reality TV show or some other TV show before. I want to see, well, I guess you could technically say that Donna Kelsey was a non-celebrity, but, you know, she's a celebrity's mom, right? I don't know. There you go. There you have it. Thanks for listening. As I said, I did this on my Big Brother Gossip podcast again. My real life, I'm done, by the way. Now we're going to have a little bit of a reality life update here, or real life update here. I have now been retired since December, but for the last month, I have been working almost every single day on some property that we've had forever that we want to sell, and I need to get it in better shape. And so I've been doing handyman projects. Yesterday, I installed a toilet. That's what I did yesterday, and put in some flooring. And so that's what I'm doing, and it is just taking up so much of my time that I haven't had a chance to do some of the stuff that I really want to do, which is what I talked about. Mike Talks About podcast. Mike Talks About stuff. I want to do that stuff, and I will once I get done with this, which I hope to be done in the next couple of weeks or so. So that's where things are at. That's why I'm not doing this on my Mike Talks About podcast. I'm going to do this one on my Big Brother Gossip Show podcast, even though I'm not talking about Big Brother. But that's where most of my listeners are still at. So for now, this one's going up there. Thank you for listening. Thanks for the support. And I will talk to you guys after the next Traitors. and I'll probably do it on here again one more time. And then we're eventually going to go with my Mike Talks About, though, because I want to do that, and I know some of you want to hear those thoughts. So thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. If I don't hear, well, yeah, I hope to talk to you before the rest of the week's out, but you know what? This is just the way my life's been. So if I don't talk to you, I hope you have a good rest of your week. All right? Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.